I feel that people think they can help individuals or their loved ones with addictions by giving them the right punishment, telling them how disappointed they are, or saying the right thing. But it won't work. You can't discipline somebody into quitting. If you search up the definition of discipline, discipline is external structure. It's something enforced by somebody else to make somebody conform into whatever box they're supposed to conform to. But lasting change doesn't come from external force, it comes from internal choice. And the reason you can't just force somebody to change is because they need to want to change. You can't make that choice for them. You can't tell them that they want to. And it can't be a surface level want. They need to commit to it. Whether they see the problem or not, regardless, they need an internal desire to grow and to evolve. First off, they need the willpower to face withdrawal. Once they make the decision, they still have to resist all the urges. They still have to say no. They still have to push away whatever it is that they're addicted to. And that's hard because it's wired into your nervous system to want those things. They should also replace the habit. My favorite example of this is quitting video games and starting to go to the gym. Now, most aspects of life that make you better, it takes time to see results, but the gym, you get the newbie gains. Like, it's the most fast developing productive thing I think you can do. So I think it's perfect for anyone really stuck in addictions to get rid of their addictions and start going to the gym. And you still will get that dopamine spike of motivation, satisfaction because you did something and you leveled up. Well, you leveled up, but in a game you also level up. But this is real world and it's healthy for you. It tricks your brain, or it makes your brain feel the same sort of way. Both give feedback, growth, and a sense of achievement very quickly. Another thing is living in a very stimulation rich way. So, for example, heroin or any sort of like physical drug, you have to go out and get it. But another example is porn, where you click the screen 7 times and boom, now you're beating your shit. Like, it's so easy. And the easier it is to access whatever it is, the more available it is in your environment, the worse it is. Another example, another example is keeping junk food in the house. If you don't buy any when you go to the store, it's going to be a lot harder for you to just binge all the time or cheat all the time. So keeping it out of your environment helps tremendously when trying to quit any sort of addiction, whatever it is. Dopamine is too easy now. Our society and our environment feeds that monkey brain all the dopamine it could ever imagine in life. And it doesn't know that it's bad for you or good for you. All it knows is dopamine. And for example, even something like the military doesn't make you disciplined. You become disciplined in the military because of the environment, because you're in a place where there's very minimal things to spike your dopamine. You're not oversaturated with it there. You're there to learn how to survive and fight and conquer and stuff of that nature. And it's a completely different field. It's like when you compare your time in the military to your time in the real world, it's completely different. One has immense stimulation, one doesn't. One keeps you busy all the time, one doesn't, because you have the choice to stay busy or not. You're not forced. Here you're forced. So what happens a lot of times is people will go to the military, they'll be disciplined, and then they'll come back and they'll fall back into bad habits again. And that's because that's not true discipline, like the type you need to become free in this way. It's an external, it's a reaction to the external. So once the external changes, boom, now you're back. You're susceptible. A good example from me in my life was every time I left Texas to go to Florida, or I left Texas to go really anywhere else, I would maybe have urges to smoke and vape for the first few days, but eventually it would fade because it was hard to get. I didn't know how to get it anywhere else. So that addiction faded away, right? But as soon as I came back to Texas, boom, addiction back because I know how to get it. And in this environment, it's just so readily available. So it's not about becoming disciplined. It's about winning the internal war and making your internal mind so strong that you can resist such temptations no matter where you go, not based on the environment. But to get there, the first step, in my opinion, that helps is decluttering your space. I kind of touched on this by saying get rid of the bad food in your pantry. Uh, don't leave things around that can stimulate you. You know what I mean? Just clear your surroundings of all the things you want to quit. Keep it all away from you. If you keep it away from you, the harder you make it for you to get it. You know, if you put the website blocker for porn, or you just unadd your plug, or whatever it is, right? The harder you make it to get whatever you want, and the more you stay resilient in your mind, pushing to get that thing, the faster it'll go away. Because imagine you're doing good and then you see something about it, or you see it sitting there in your room. You know what I'm saying? It's like imagine you say you're going to quit vaping and you leave the vape in your drawer, and then you're doing good for 3 days, you open your drawer and boom, you see the vape. Boom, now you relapse. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Instead, you should yeet the vape out the window, and um and that'll just help you in general quit, because then it's not there. You can't just see it and relapse. If you have junk food, but you say you're not going to eat junk food, and 5 days in, you see the Oreos in your pantry, and you're like, you know what I'm saying? That you just failed. You fucking loser. No. Just keep stuff out of your vicinity. Keep stuff out of your reach. Make it as hard as possible to grab and to acquire. And you got to accept that it's hard. Nothing easy in life ever gives you reward. And like you could say, well, you can win the lottery. Well, most lottery winners become broke again because they don't know how to spend the money. So is it really a blessing when you blow a few $1,000,000? You know what I'm saying? Or you could be already a businessman, or someone who's very like knows what they would do as soon as they got rich, and then they won the lottery, and then they use that money wisely, and now you have generational wealth, right? But one prepared and one didn't. One did some hard work and the other didn't, right? So yeah, it's like, uh, in my opinion, you have to work at least a little bit for anything good in life. Now, maybe hard work is the wrong term. It's more like you have to take action, right? Because you can work smarter instead of harder and get further than the person who worked harder, or you can work smarter and harder, But like, it's more about you have to execute. You have to do something. When you do something, something else happens. There's a cause and effect for pretty much everything. So, in order to make yourself resilient, you have to do all these things. You have to put yourself in the most advantageous position possible and keep yourself there for as long as possible, and rewire your brain. And once you rewire your brain, you can start resisting even when it's right in front of you. Now, I wouldn't recommend ever trying it or doing it again, because once an addict, always an addict, I think. Based on my personal experience, that's what I be seeing, you know what I'm saying? That's what I've been doing, right? Like, I don't think you could ever get back into it just for fun or stuff of that nature. Well, actually, an example of maybe something you could do is like nicotine. I can never smoke nicotine or like buy any nicotine, because if I have one in the house, I will puff it all day long. You know what I mean? But for example, weed, like I was addicted when I was young, like 14, 15, but I used it as a coping mechanism for life. And as I got older, I started using it just for fun. Life was boring, in Texas. So that's why I smoked, but I haven't been like genuinely addicted to marijuana in a long time. So I guess maybe not always an addict, but like if whatever the problem was, or whatever you used the drug for initially, is like still a problem or is still there or prevalent in your life, don't ever touch it again, because you will go back. Or for example, nicotine. Nicotine doesn't do jack shit for me. It's just mad addicting. So like, you know. And just remember, logic has nothing to do with this. It's all monkey brain stuff. It's your dopamine systems. It's your old wiring that has been around for millions of years that helped us survive. Because back before the world was overstimulating, our dopamine meant living, and no dopamine meant dying. If we didn't have food, dying. If we had food, living. So now we have infinite food. So you can get fat as fuck. You could just keep eating and become a my 600 pound lifer, and your body won't tell you stop eating, you're too fat. It just senses the dopamine and it goes, good, we're living. Like it's that simple. It's a monkey brain. It doesn't follow the logic of your prefrontal cortex. And so this is advice for parents right here. You can't get your kid to just quit because it's not logical. Addiction isn't logical. It's a strictly emotional, neurological, neurochemical. I think it's both neurological and neurochemical mm, thing. And as a teenager whose mom also, got mad at him and like didn't want me to smoke, right? And do all this stuff. Uh, I think I can possibly give some decent advice. So the first thing I can say is don't be a micromanager, be a mirror. I personally did not grow until I saw myself and I wanted to be something better. So be the mirror for your kid. When you look in the mirror and you see you're fat, you want to lose weight. When you get your kid to see themselves and they see that they're fucked up, or they see what's wrong with them, then they'll want to grow. Also build connection, not shame, because when you make someone shameful, you trigger their ego, you trigger all the negative emotions in them. It makes them not only not want to talk to you but feel worse about themselves, and honestly might make the drug problem worse. Teenagers are rebellious by nature, on top of the addiction not being logical in the first place. So it's just not a good idea to do it from a place of discipline or shame or disappointment, because how can your kid feel safe around you? And why would we listen to you when you don't even try to understand us? You just spout out your words of hate or, negativity. That's the word. And listen more than you speak. I personally believe if you let them talk to you about it, like no shame, no upset, not telling them to quit, nothing like that. You just let them tell you their stories. You let them tell you what it's doing to them. You let them tell you how they feel, why they do it. Like, instead of saying stop, ask why. Like why are you doing it? Like on a root level, right? And the more you know, the more knowledge you have to then influence them in a indirect way. And I also think the best thing you can do is sort of help in the external way. So you can't discipline them, but you can make it harder for them to access their certain things. You can maybe assist them from the shadows, indirectly, not right in their face, not telling them what to do, but sort of aiding on the sidelines. Now, you want to do this subtly. You don't want to tell them I'm putting it what do you call it? I'm putting an app blocker on your phone, because what's the first thing they do? Get defensive, right? That's what I did. I remember my mom put an ad blocker on my phone. I found out how to go around that shit. Like, fuck you. I didn't mean that, mama. I meant fuck that. um, so it's it just doesn't work. It makes us defensive. It triggers our ego, and it simply will make us find a workaround or be angry at you or distrust you, etc. So basically just remove triggers around them, but not by force, just subtly. Just help them see who they are on a deep level. Be a mirror. Once they see who they are and they want to change, they're likely to change. They're likely to choose better. Because when someone sees themselves in the mirror but doesn't get defensive, doesn't get that ego trigger, they simply see it for what it is and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's me." That's when they're going to change. That's when they're going to want to change. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and turn on noties so you never miss a future upload. Also, if you want to know me on a more personal level, check out my vlog, Joseph Marrone, in the description. And you better like. You better fucking like. And come back tomorrow. My knee's itchy.